All right, guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a new training video. Clearly a little bit of a different setting today. You can see we're in the gym and we are about to start full body B, as in boy. And basically what I would like to do today is kind of walk you guys through this one as I'm doing it. So first and foremost, mic quality. I have tried really hard, my mic is out in the hallway, but I've tried really hard to use my microphone and it only picks up the music and it never picks up my voice in here. So I'm working on it. I want to do more of these and the mic quality will get better, but I still want to do this one even though the mic quality isn't the best. The plan for today is just to kind of give you guys some thoughts with each movement before I get into my working set and just kind of give you guys a general idea of what it is that I'm thinking about on that particular exercise. This is a little different for me. I normally film the stuff and then talk about it after. So this is still kind of daunting to me. I'm kind of nervous to be walking around the gym and just kind of talking to my camera, but I've been wanting to make content like this for a while, and the best way to get over the fear is to just do it. So I'm gonna go take a leak and then we're gonna get started in here with the first movement. All right, I start every workout off with abs and calves. We're getting into the ab work here. Abs always consists of two movements. It consists of a decline crunch and then a leg raise. So starting with the decline crunch here, and with the decline crunch, I alternate back and forth between a heavy and a light day. That'll probably be something that I mention as we get further into the workout, because with full body training, you end up using a lot of the same exercises throughout the week, and my preferred way to keep progression going when you're doing that is to work in different rep ranges on each time. So I may talk about that a little bit later, but just for the sake of time, today's a heavy day with the decline crunches. So I'm gonna be using a 35-pound dumbbell as I'm doing those. And on the light day, I use a 20-pound dumbbell just to kind of give you guys a rough idea of the weight. It's around 50%. My ab training is actually the only work that I do that I don't log. I know that I'm using a 35-pound dumbbell and a 20-pound dumbbell, but I don't keep track of how many reps that I'm getting. My abs have grown and responded really well from, as with every exercise, but just making sure that every rep is perfect. And one of the main things that I especially think about when I'm doing my ab training, a lot of times I see people do ab work and they're getting a lot of movement at the hips. They're kind of bending at the hip and bringing their hips back and forth. And just a reminder that your ab muscles flex your spine. They don't do anything with your hips. So what I think about doing when I'm training my abs is I try and take my sternum and I try and bring that to my belly button, and I try and shorten those 2 points as much as I can. So instead of breaking at the hips when I do a crunch, I try and break at the sternum, and then I try and bring my chest down towards my waist or towards my belly button. This is a little bit of a morbid cue, but a cue that I give a lot of my clients is to think about sucking their own dick. As you try and remove a rib and try and bring your thoracic spine down towards your waist, you're gonna be putting your spine through flexion and then extension again as you come up on the way up. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about on the crunch. And then when we get to the leg raise, I'm thinking about doing the opposite. So when I talked about the crunch, I talked about bringing your sternum down towards your belly button. And then on the leg raise, I think about bringing my belly button up towards the sternum. Now in both exercises, you're bringing belly button to sternum, right? But when you're starting the crunch, you're thinking about initiating at the thoracic spine and breaking down. And when you're doing the leg raise, you're thinking about breaking in the lumbar spine and coming up. So there, in both scenarios, you're taking the two same points towards each other, but you're initiating the movements completely differently depending on what you're doing. Once I hit failure with the decline crunch, I will do the leg raises. I will either do the leg raises in this, I cannot point, the captain's chair. Everyone knows what this thing is over here. I call that the captain's chair. I prefer to do them hanging though out on the pull-up bar because they're harder, and I feel like it helps me warm up my shoulders and my lats. A lot of people will recommend just doing a dead hang from a pull-up bar to kind of open up their shoulders and everything, and when I do my leg raises hanging, I can kind of accomplish that at the same time as I'm doing the leg raises. So I prefer to do them on the pull-up bar. If the pull-up bar is taken, I'll come in here and I'll do them on the captain's chair. But let's get this ab work knocked out and then get to calves. All right, abs are done, calves are up. We have two calf raises that I really like. This one over here, which is what I'm using today. This is for my Caidin. And then this one over here is from Arsenal. This is a donkey calf raise. I go back and forth between the two. So I carry in donkey, and then with the rep ranges, 5 to 8, 5 to 8, 8 to 12, 8 to 12. Today's a 5 to 8 day for the Icarian here. Last week I hit 345 for 8 reps, and so I'm adding 2.5 pounds today. So the goal would be to hit this for 8 reps. If I get close to that, then that's fine, I'll build it up, but ideally I would hit this for 8 reps. I want you guys to notice how long I am spending in the stretch position. If this is the platform and this is my foot, the stretch position with the ankle and dorsiflexion, there's a lot of literature that's coming out about the calves benefiting a lot from stretch-mediated hypertrophy. And I don't want to be that guy, but the literature isn't really new. Dante Trudell was promoting that people spend a long time in the stretch in the late 90s, early 2000s, quoting a lot of literature from birds who were having their wings stretched under weight, and then noticing that when they removed the weights, the muscle had hypertrophied. So kind of indicating that there is some merit in the stretch, despite, I know that that's like a meme now for people to make fun of. And I think it's particularly bullshit, especially on the calves. Dante was actually promoting that people do 15 count holds in the stretch. I mean, that's unbelievable. I do 5 count holds in the stretch and it feels like fucking battery acid. So 15 is immense. I don't know if you necessarily have to go that long and that extreme, but I've been training my calves this way for 4 to 5 years. And it's just kind of interesting now that lately there's starting to be more literature that's coming out and supporting that. So it makes me feel good about the way that I'm training my calves. Like I said, my calves are definitely not big by any means, but I at least know that I'm doing what I need to do in order to make them grow. So I got one more warm up here, and then we're gonna get into the working set. And like I said, I'm aiming for 8 reps. All right, adductor and abductor next, starting with the adductor. This is a super important movement for me. I think that your adductors are probably the most important muscle group for making your legs look bigger on stage. I do this every other day, and I work in a couple different rep ranges. I've mentioned that on basically all my exercises up until this point, but the adductor I will work in 3 rep ranges. Today is my 5 to 8 rep range day. On the A and C workout, I will work in the 12 to 15, and then on my D workout, I'll do 8 to 12. So I do the 5 to 8, 8 to 12, and then the 12 to 15. On the 5 to 8 day, I use a 3 count hold at the peak contraction. So I'll put the peak contraction here and I'll physically count 3, 2, 1, and then come into the next rep here. I have injured my adductors so many times. So that's why with all of my movements, I use a very precise tempo, but especially with the adductor, because I've hurt my adductor so many times and I just cannot afford to hurt it anymore. And then kind of tying that in with the 5 to 8 rep range work, I really don't like to do this machine for anything less than 8 reps. And if I am gonna do a weight that's in that 5 to 8 rep range, it needs to be a weight that I am in such total control of that I can pause it for 3 seconds, slowly release it, and take the tension the whole way, and do that on every single rep. So that's what we're gonna do today. I'm adding 1 pound from last week. And just like the calf raise, I got 8 reps last week and I'm trying to get 8 today. Side note, the weight that I'm using on this is just getting ridiculous at this point. I've got the full stack, I've got all of the 5 pound things added on, and I've got some magnet weights added on there too. I just need to invest in a fucking gym pin at this point, honestly. I'll get one, and I'll be damn straight up before it goes dead. And I'm like, yeah, I could look at this one, but then when you get that one, you know, just like the super hot one, just, you know, they're no fun. They're no fun. Yeah. All right, abductor now. I also do this twice per week, one in the 5 to 8, one in the 8 to 12. Today's the 8 to 12 day. Last week I got 13 reps with the weight that I'm using, so I'm adding a pound, and I'm gonna try and get 12 or 13 ideally. When I do my abductors, instead of kind of leaning back and doing them this way, I prefer to lean forward. I think I can be a little bit more stable that way. When I lean back, I find that my hips kind of keep going forward as the set goes on, and not only do I lose leverage and stability, but that lever gets shorter, and so the exercise gets a little easier. Whereas pushing myself back not only gives me good stability into the back pad here, but it also keeps the lever a little bit longer at the leg. I've seen some people argue for doing this way. I've seen some people argue against doing it this way, saying that it can cause like back pain. I don't get any back pain from it yet at the moment. I've been doing them like this for a year straight, so you know that I'm not saying that's not true. I'm just saying that I haven't experienced that. But when you take a look at all the top bikini wellness figure competitors that have huge glutes, 90% of them do their abductors this way. So I think that there's proof in the pudding with that, so to say. All right, leg extensions. Two things with the leg extension, which I'm sure by now are pretty common knowledge. I'm using a couple of rolled up mats in between the shin pad and my legs here just to get more of a stretch on all the muscles. And then I have the seat set all the way to the back. The more that you can get your hips into flexion and get your hips up towards the sky, the more that you can lengthen those quad muscles. My leg extensions have been kind of weird lately because I've been dealing with some pain in my quad tendon on my left side specifically. So I've been working in some higher rep ranges lately, just because with the higher rep ranges, I know that I'm less likely to get injured. So I've been preferring to keep my leg extensions 10 reps or above. I haven't done this weight in like a week and a half. And the last time that I did this weight, I hit it for 9 reps. So honestly, today I would be happy with just matching 9, but obviously, ideally, I would get 10 or more. So we'll see how this goes. Up until this point, it's been abs, calves, and then some hip stuff. We're kind of starting to get into some of the fun stuff now. Seated leg curl. Same as pretty much everything else. I do it twice per week, one day in the 5 to 8, one day in the 8 to 12. Today's the 8 to 12 day. Same thing as the leg extension. I'm using 2 foam mats in between my quads and the thigh pad just to get more stretch on this. I prefer to do my seated leg curls pressing back into the pad instead of leaning forward. I can generate more stability with that, and it feels a little bit better on my lower back. I think that the leaning forward method pre-stretching your hamstrings is totally fine. I don't have anything against that, but as you guys will see later on in the workout, I'm going to do an exercise that puts the hamstrings under an extreme stretch, so I don't feel the need to also do an extreme stretch on this particular movement. So pretty much the same thing as everything else. I hit this weight for 12 reps last week. I'm adding 1 pound, and I'm going to try and hit 12 again today.
All your cardio exercises, all your pivot machines, legs, thighs, abductor, back, shoulders, all up there. Just weights. Kettle balls, sled, battle rope, pull people, stretching.
All right, pendulum squats. Everything up until this point's been kind of, I don't want to say fruity, but it's all been single joint, isolation, easy shit. We're starting to get into some real fucking work now. So pendulums, you'll notice I have the rubber mats back there. God knows that's not for more depth. If you've ever used a pendulum, you know that this thing goes deep as fuck. The foot plates on a lot of Arsenal equipment use like a diamond crested material, and my squat shoes do not grip that at all. So what happens if I end up trying to use the pendulum with my squat shoes is my feet slide up the platform the whole time. So I just put these rubber mats over the platform so that my shoes can grip and that they won't slide. So that, you know, that's not like a fancy science thing, that's just purely for grip. This thing goes deep as fuck, and that's obviously the point of what we're trying to do, is try to get max knee flexion here. So that's what we're focusing on. I'm not quite sure what weight I'm going to use, but I'll probably do the same thing that I've done with every exercise up until this point. Last week I did 126 pounds for 7 reps, and I'll probably add 1 pound and then try and hit 7 again. Took a pound and a rep on the pendulum, so let alone that was worth coming to the gym today. So very, very happy about that. Very happy that my quad tendon is holding up for the time being. Last exercise for the lower body before we get into some upper body stuff is hyperextension. I'm lucky enough to have an actual hyperextension machine with a weight stack on it. If you don't have that, you can use a regular hyperextension and just add some bands to it if it's too easy. The function of this movement is to train the glute, the ham, and the spinal erectors. You guys will see when I get to the top that I really arch my back. And sometimes I get some shit on the internet for that, which is really funny because you're putting your spine into hyperextension on a hyperextension machine. That is the purpose and the function of this machine, is to give you a platform to safely hyperextend your spine. So this is a full posterior chain smoker, glute, hamstring, spinal erector, you name it. This thing fries my whole posterior chain. So this will be the last lower body exercise, and then we'll get into the upper body work to finish this one off. lower body work done, everything progressed. It's a beautiful day. Let's get into some upper body stuff. 5 upper body workouts or exercises, and then we're out of here. Starting with the pull over, lat focused movement. Focus on here is the big stretch. This particular movement also overloads pretty heavy in the shortened position, so I'm going to run out of oomph with getting the lats short before I can run out of oomph from getting them lengthened. So what will probably happen, and how this usually works, is the final rep is going to be fairly easy from here to here, and then going from here to here, getting it fully shortened out is going to be a fucking grind. So thankfully this machine has a seat belt. We'll kind of wrap that around your waist, and then pay attention. I'll try and get it in the shot. Pay attention to what I do with my feet. My feet are kind of wrapped around the foot platform here, and especially when the reps get really hard, I'm really driving my legs into those and driving myself back into the seat as hard as I can to create some counter stability to get that last rep fully shortened. All right, second movement for the back is the Arsenal row. This thing is okay. It could be a lot better. I've honestly used like all of my upper back movements and all of my other sessions, and this movement has a lot of potential. I just need to find a way to get things to align, to kind of connect with my traps. I think I've kind of found a way lately. I've got actually two of these folded in half just to elevate the seat a little bit more, just because the way that the handles of this machine naturally move, they don't really go in the same line of direction as of the force of the fibers of my traps. So just kind of to elevate myself a little bit, just so that I can kind of keep the muscles that I'm trying to work in line with the direction that the handles move. And unfortunately, this machine is not really the best, but just kind of trying to do what I got to do to keep a connection in the essentially. So I haven't really fully decided if this will stay in full time. I kind of want to put it in for a couple more weeks, and then depending on how it feels, if it starts to feel better, I'll keep it in. But for now, it's just kind of in like a testing phase. All right, those Arsenal rows actually felt the best that they've ever felt, so that's promising. Obviously going to keep that set up and keep that movement in as long as it's feeling good. So 3 more movements left. Chest and triceps. I'm knocking out chest and triceps with 1 exercise. This is a flat hammer strength press. The reason why I'm using the hammer for both my chest and my triceps is because of the resistance profile of hammer strength equipment. The hammer strength equipment has an ascending resistance profile, which means that the reps get harder as you approach the fully shortened position. As you get closer and closer to the lockout becomes more and more tricep dominant. And so what you're going to notice when I'm doing the hammer strength press is once I can no longer hit full peak contraction, I will continue to do partial reps until I literally cannot move the weight 1 millimeter. When I can no longer hit full peak contraction, that's because my triceps don't have enough juice left in them for me to finish out the reps. But I can still take the reps up until the point where the tricep wants to kick on. And all of those partials that I'm getting is all isolated pec stimulus. So this is a really good movement, very similar to a dip, as a really good way to hit your chest and your triceps in the same exercise. When I first started doing full body training and I started doing the setup the way that I have it now, I had a direct chest and tricep movement here, like a fly and a push down or something like that. But I was noticing that doing direct chest and tricep work every other day, I was struggling to progress, and in a lot of cases I was regressing and I was getting weaker. So on my A and C workouts, I do a direct chest movement and a direct tricep movement. But then on my B and D workouts, I do a movement that ties both of those in together in one movement. So today I do the hammer press. On the D workout, I do a weighted dip. And for me, that has been adequate enough to kind of stimulate both of those muscles, knowing that in 48 hours, I'm gonna come back in and I'm gonna do an incline press, and then I'm gonna do a narrow grip press, which is gonna be more tricep specific. So, you know, this has been working for me at the moment. And if anything, my chest and my triceps are some of my better muscle groups. So if my chest and my triceps aren't growing or recovering as much as everything else, I'm actually okay with that. I'm trying to bring up my whole body, but particularly my legs, to match my chest and my shoulders and triceps. So if those muscles are growing a little bit slower, I'm actually okay with that because it gives my other muscle groups an opportunity to catch up as well. All right, 2 more movements left. Up until this point, it's been a perfect session and everything has progressed, so I don't want to jinx it, but hopefully we can keep it going. We've got side delts and biceps, and then we're done. Side delts today, I'm doing a cuffed cable lateral. This is just my favorite side delt movement of all time. Bunch of different ways you can do it. Standing, seated, lying, single arm, Y raises. I'm doing it standing today. You know, honestly, I don't really have much of anything to say about this movement. This is my favorite side delt movement of all time. When I discovered these in 2019, 2020, that was the first time that I ever did a lateral raise and actually felt my side delts work. And ever since then, these cuffed lateral raises are almost always going to be my preferred way to go about doing things. So I hit this for 6 reps last week. I'd love to hit it for 7 today. All right, last movement. I actually regressed 1 rep on the lateral raise. I think that's because I just didn't rest as long in between my last warm-up and the working set, which is my fault. Obviously kind of fucking annoyed with it, but as I kind of said in the last clip, my shoulders are one of my better body parts, so if my shoulder stuff isn't progressing as quickly, it's not really a huge priority at the moment. So because I fucked up that last one, I'd really like to finish on a high note today. The last 2 rotations that we're getting into bicep curls now, by the way, cable curls with the rope. Last 2 weeks I've hit this for 5. I'd really like to hit this for 6 today. So that would be a really good way to cap off this workout on a high note and kind of make up for the last exercise's fuck up. All right, guys, that's all she wrote. Could have been perfect, should have been perfect, but fucked up on the lateral raise. It is what it is. I got 2 reps on the curl, which kind of makes up for that, but also not really. So next rotation, I'll come back in here and I'll be pretty pissed off at those laterals and I'll get that rep back. But yeah, otherwise just another day in the office. I haven't really gotten a chance to watch any of these clips back yet to see if any of this stuff is even salvageable. I'm hoping that you guys can pick up my voice over the music, but we'll see. If this video made it to YouTube, then obviously it's good enough to go up. So hope you guys liked it. Expect more. If you guys have any questions or anything, just let me know. And as always, guys, take care of yourselves.